In this video, I'm going to go through all of the recovery methods that I use to allow me to run 200 kilometers a week. And at the end of this video, I'm going to answer some of the most commonly asked questions I get about recovery and just how to stay healthy, how to stay fresh. And for me, that comes into two different categories. That is intentful recovery and passive recovery. It's a little waffle I've just made up, but it's a good way to categorize each one. Intentful recovery, I mean you're taking extra steps or going out of your way to recover or using a recovery tool. And passive recovery is more about optimizing what you would normally do anyway to improve recovery, if that makes sense. So firstly, going through the intentful recovery, and there's only two things that I use in this category. And number one is very simple and effective, and it really varies depending on each person. So this is something you'd have to look at and maybe think how you would apply this to your life. But it is actually simply just to be more relaxed. And that sounds stupid to say, like, obviously. But what I mean by that is life is often quite stressful. You never really have much time to switch off or relax your mind or just feel generally de-stressed and calm. And I think that is actually one of the biggest things to help you feel fresher for a session or the next day, even if it's just mental. Having time to relax, I believe, really helps with recovery, even if it's not scientifically a metric that people often use to go, okay, you're more recovered because you're more relaxed. I think they come hand in hand. So that could be having a more of a relaxed outlook on the day. Let's say it's the weekend and you're like, today actually I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to maybe have a lie-in, then go for a nice walk, have a nice coffee, watch a film in bed. Just anything what really makes you calm, whether that could be going to a spa, having a massage, having a bath. Literally anything that makes your mind at ease and makes you calmer would help. And I know a lot of people are probably like, I've got kids, I work a 9 till 5. Many different variables make it much harder to be relaxed, or at least try and be relaxed. And I found even if you just try to look at the day calmer, which is very easier said than done, but that could just be take it a bit slower. That could be just running a bath at night. That could be going for a 5-minute walk. That could be doing 5 minutes of meditation. Just trying to tick boxes in terms of making your day a bit more relaxed, I definitely think helps. Obviously, you can take that to the extremes. If you've got a lot of money, go for a quick city break, chill by the pool, whatever you need to do just to be calmer. And the only other intentful thing I actually do is use a TENS machine, which is a tool that you stick onto your body and it essentially sends electrical impulses, I think it is, to the muscles or the nerves to make your legs pulse, which basically means you get muscle contractions without actually putting any impact on your body. So you could be laid down in bed, you could be sat in a chair, you could be working at a desk, you could be stood up, and your muscles are just contracting away, which in theory should improve blood flow at those muscles, which should help with recovery. I also find it's very helpful when traveling, when you just sat down. So if you're at a desk for a long period of time, say you work a 9 till 5 again, an office job, you sat down a lot. If you're traveling on a long haul flight in a car for a long time, having this TENS machine on really takes away that feeling of like grogginess your body gets when you're sat down for a while. So I really use that anytime I'm traveling to a race. What's over an hour, I'll put it on for at least 20 minutes. And in terms of like recovery tools, I'll touch on this a bit later on in the video. A TENS machine is the only one I've actually ever found works or noticeably helps. So I swear by it. I need to use it more, but it's definitely something that is very good for people to use. And now onto the passive ones. These are where you can just optimize your life or things you should already be doing just to make them better to recover more. First one is nutrition optimization. Most people watching this, I could probably already say they're underfueled in carbohydrates and protein. A lot of people think runners tend to be skinny because they don't eat much, and a lot of people actually think, I need to lose weight to run faster. But generally, I think being strong and healthy and fueled will always help you run faster than focusing on losing weight as the main source. So what I mean by underfueled is a lot of time people don't have enough energy to complete the session, and that also means then they're in an energy deficit for recovery, and that means they're not fully recovering. So it's just a never-ending cycle of being overly fatigued, which just basically increases the chance of injury, increases the chance of illness, and just means you're not recovering. So you'll just feel shocking day to day because fatigue is cumulative. So ways to stay on top of that, I would say, is especially around big training days, just increase your carbs straight up. Let's say you have a certain amount of pasta for dinner, just add to it. If you have a banana, have a banana and a half, or a bagel, have 2 bagels. Just really simple things like that is quite an easy way to play around and find what works for you. Running on an empty stomach has no excuse. If you get stitch, you need to find foods that don't give you stitch. It's as simple as that because it makes a massive difference. And also straight after training, if you can get some food in straight away. People talk about now about this protein window and how it's a lot of rubbish, or this certain window, I can't remember the correct term, and people have kind of contested it. Regardless, you've expended fuel during that session. So the quicker you get that fuel back in, the better. So protein shake, recovery shake, a banana, milk, anything after training just really helps with recovery for the next training day. Another cliche one, people always say you've got to run slower, you've got to run easy, run slow, and I really do mean it. Running slow in good running shoes is one of the biggest things for recovery. Almost, actually, it's one of the biggest things to prevent not recovering or feeling worse. I guess there is a bit of a distinction there, but there is also a crossover, because if you run slow enough in cushioned shoes or on a softer ground surface, you can actually promote recovery through blood flow that way as well. So easy days are meant to be easy, and also it's actually a great component of fitness, something you're not actually getting when you're doing a session. So a lot of people always think, I'm not getting anything out of running easy, it's junk miles. It's not. They have a value. Please run easy. And the cushioned shoes part of that is just reduces the impact on the road. So let's say you're running 10k, you're smacking the tarmac thousands of times. If you have a comfortable cushioned shoe, that's taking a lot of the load off the joints and the muscles, which just means they're going to take less damage. By default, they're going to feel better. So it's not the recovery side, but it's almost the stopping you fatiguing more, which is essentially recovery as well. And the same applies to running your workouts too hard. So every session has a purpose. People go into workouts and think, I need to run 100%, I need to work really hard. And while that mentality is good in terms of being prepared to work hard, sometimes it's just better to be sensible. In fact, most of the time, maybe all of the time, you should be sensible. Because if you push a session on a Tuesday, you might get overly fatigued. And then if you have another session on the Thursday or the Friday or the Saturday, you might not be fully recovered for that session. And the cycle will just continue where you're a bit more fatigued and you're a bit more fatigued. And eventually that leads to injury and illness, and you just can't hit your splits in training. So then you almost want to work harder to try and hit those splits, and then you're even more fatigued. So it is really a never-ending cycle. So let's say you've got a coach, providing that coach is a good coach, run the session as it's intended. If that's a threshold session, you need to run at threshold pace. There's nothing special about running too hard to get nice splits and then being fatigued. It's not the point. It might look good on the Strava, but your body won't be thanking you 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks down the line. And I generally say for pretty much every single person watching, unless you're an 800 meter runner or below, aerobic sessions are going to be the biggest benefit. So if you can run more at a slower pace, that is probably going to be more beneficial than running faster for less time. So that is literally it. They are the only recovery strategies I use. Obviously there's sleep, which I'm going to touch on in some of the most common questions I get asked. But generally speaking, it's pretty simple. It's just trying to be relaxed, stress-free as much as possible, good running shoes, controlling my sessions and easy runs, and using a TENS machine, and just having good nutrition. But I did get asked some questions, so I want to touch on them because there's some common misconceptions, or maybe some common things that I don't really do, what other people might want to do, or maybe want to, in my opinion, not. And the first one is actually foam rolling. Someone's asked how much I foam roll, and flat out answer is I don't at all. And I don't actually know any elite runner who consistently foam rolls. I'm trying to actually really think about someone who I know who foam rolls. It's quite a lot of effort. Like, sometimes it hurts my core foam rolling when you've got both hands on the floor and you're trying to balance on one leg. It's just a lot of time for what it's worth. Like, if I could get an extra half an hour in bed or foam roll, or have a hot bath or foam roll, or use a TENS machine and foam roll, I'd always pick the other option. So I don't foam roll. Next question, what is the most important aspect of your recovery? I would say that's actually obviously something I've touched on, but it's just lifestyle management. And by that I mean sleep and nutrition, but also staying calm and maybe trying to move a bit more rather than just being sat in one place, because then you get stiff. And even though that's not directly recovery, it still ends up with your body feeling worse. And some metrics, that means try and get 8 hours of sleep, but also good quality sleep. So I'm tracking my heart rate data on the Coros watch. I'm using things to maybe see how I can improve my deep sleep, like using sleep supplements. Same with the HRV metric. How can I improve that? Maybe that's an eye mask, sleeping in a cooler room, sleeping in a quiet room. The next question was, would you rather use compression or have a massage? Neither, again, would be my first choice. I've used compression and massages, and again, I couldn't tell you if they helped recovery. I would say neither. I'd always choose something else, but if I did have to choose between compression and a massage, I would choose a massage, just because you can get a bit more utility about maybe helping mobility around certain joints. Do I use a sauna and steam room for recovery? I do use the sauna, but I wouldn't say I use it for recovery, and purely because I go in the sauna after a session, or my goal of the sauna is to get the benefits from the almost dehydration aspect of it, or the stress on the body. So it is quite strenuous, so I'm not quite sure that is recovering for me. And I guess there could be some utility there in terms of vasodilation and widening the blood vessels to promote blood flow and relax the muscles to have recovery there. But I personally don't do that. I would have maybe a hot bath for that, just because when I go in the sauna, I go in there to work hard, basically. It sounds daft when you just sat there working hard, but I find the sauna quite a hard thing to do. So I definitely don't use it for recovery, but you could do if you stay in it for less time and maybe do a few stretches in there and just relax. And the last question is, how far should I run for recovery runs? This obviously depends a lot on your weekly mileage. Your body needs to be used to that load in the first place. Say people are only running 15 kilometers a week. If they use my recovery run, which could be anything up to 15k, that's their whole weekly distance in one run. They're not going to recover. Personally, anything around 30 minutes, really easy, is a good place for me. Maybe a bit longer, maybe a bit less. But I would say whatever that time is where it's less than what you would normally run and easier than you'd normally run, that's probably a good place to start. If you're averaging 10k a day, go for a recovery run, what's 5 or 6 kilometers. Try and get on grass. Make sure you're wearing cushion shoes and go a lot slower. That's probably a good place to start for the recovery run, but there's so many variables, as with a lot of these recovery strategies. And if anything I've mentioned that I say I don't think really works, if you truly believe it works, it doesn't matter what the science says, because even if you're mentally more recovered, by default you're going to be more recovered, because psychology and how the body feels connects massively. So if you think it's working, it will work. So take everything I said with a pinch of salt. People ask for a recovery video, so I just wanted to go through everything that I do for recovery. If you do have any recovery tips, then please comment them down below, because I want to learn more things, and I'm sure everyone else watching this video would like to learn more things. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe. I'm going to try and get a video out every single week. It's already proven a challenge because this is 2 days late. And if you somehow don't follow me on Instagram, all the links are in the description.